All right, good morning. Welcome to Meet the Masters. Tim Watson here. Today I'm joined by Master Chris Anderson. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Tim. How's it going?
I'm great. I'm excited to get the chance to talk to you. Uh, I think you're the first one that I've had to do a redo on.
That's okay. It gives me an opportunity to go back over and go, I wish I'd said this or that didn't come out quite right. So hopefully I'll do better this time.
Yeah, and we have more to talk about, right?
Absolutely.
It's funny. I look back at my messages, and the first one that I had sent, actually the first one when I sent questions to you was back in May of 2021,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
wild to think it's been that long.
Yeah. And just speaks about how busy we keep ourselves. So trying to slow down just a little bit.
Yeah. Uh, so how was quick backstory? I just saw Master Anderson at the World Championships 2024, and he came up and said, "Hey, can you send me the video of, that we did together?" And I realized we had a kind of snafus, some background noise. I never posted it, so here we are. How was the World Championships for you, sir?
It was excellent. It was part of the security team. I've done that before, and it's a great experience, great group of individuals that step up and do that. And when we say security team, it's really all encompassing, kind of managing crowd control expectations and kind of listening what's going on in it, with the spectators in particular, parents, and just trying to make sure everybody can see and their students and hear what's going on. And overall, I had no issues the whole weekend other than my battery died on my walkie-talkie apparently, and I was off the grid for a little bit. And they did come check on me. It's like, oh yeah, battery's dead. But I was so busy dealing with the little dragon's ring at the time. The earbud thing wasn't even on my radar. So
I feel like those skills of looking at everything and assessing are skills that are honed on the mat. Like as far as you you hear the door open, you look to see who's there, if it's someone new. You look at the lobby, you're checking out students. So I feel like that's not far off from the skills that you use on a day-to-day basis.
well, yeah, it's true. It's just being aware of your surroundings, we call that situational awareness. So and every once in a while one of those little masters will sneak behind me at or I'm like, what, where are you going? But yeah, it worked out well.
Excellent.
Great weekend. I had my grandson there. He was in Little Dragons division. So my daughter and I were talking on the way down, and we realized that's the second world championship he's been to. And I'm like, he's getting off on a good start here. But I did explain to him that's the last Little Dragons World Championship he gets, because next time he'll be 8 and he'll be in the beginner intermediates. And he seemed fine with it. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, a bunch of Facebook memories popped up for me recently. My daughters, the last one they went to was 2018 because obviously 2020 we missed. They couldn't make it in 2022. So the last time my youngest was a green or a brown belt, and now she just tested for Edon.
Oh my gosh.
So it's
Yeah.
crazy to see the difference. And obviously you know that all too well with the daughter who's now a fourth degree.
Yeah, it's one of those you look back and you go, where did the time go? And you know, so you just keep marching forward like Mr. Shin. You just keep, you know, taking that next step, and then carrying on the legacy and passing it along. Kind of on a more somber note, Master Brace, a longtime friend of mine, a martial artist, passed away last week, and we had his memorial service and that yesterday. And a lot of kind words, were shared about him. I got up and said a little bit, and was a good reminder that how fleeting our time is, and make sure that we share it with people that are important to us, and they hold you and each other in high regard. And so he'll be missed, but his his karate family here is up to the task of picking up the mantle and carrying on, and that's what we'll do. But yeah, that was kind of a somber day. But then afterwards, it truly did become a celebration of his life, 75 years. And in as much as I traveled with him and roomed with him and shared time, we had a Tuesday morning training schedule here at my studio for a few years now. As we got up in the master's rank, we realized that we needed to work on our skill set and our material, and it's just so hard to carve out time. And then even when you do, you don't have that extra set of eyes on you. So
Right.
we set up Tuesday mornings at my school, and so we did that for years, and we really enjoyed each other's company. We struggled through several forms, new forms. The cane form was a bugger for both of us, and we finally got that one down. And so I will miss those Tuesday mornings with Master Brace and sharing that camaraderie. And a very wise gentleman, and brought a great perspective to not only the martial arts but life in general. So we have our work cut out for us carrying on that Master Brace legacy as well.
Thank you for sharing that. I didn't get a chance to know him personally, but every time I saw him, he was always smiling. He was always at every master's clinic that I went to.
Mhm.
And I know all the Region 5 and beyond had nothing but good things to say about him.
Yeah. Yeah. He did. I don't know if you were at the master's clinic where he was the spokesperson when a certain senior master, I will not name because I don't want to get on that list, received the master's disaster award. And he got up and he gave a rather lengthy dissertation, which is was kind of Master Brace's forte. He could take a long time telling you a story. And there was threats of great bodily harm and everything else after that. And then the individual in question was on the bus to go to the airport and was tapped on the shoulder and spun around, demanding to know who was touching him. And it just so happened to be Grandmaster Shin, who said, "I think someone gets two awards." So again, I'm not going to jump into who that was. You may already
I
know,
do know
but
that story.
yeah. So I was like, I shared that at his memorial service. Everybody got a good chuckle, and then everybody could see that would be Master Brace. He could elaborate and make that story really come to life. So
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Let's talk about your martial arts history. How did you get started in the martial arts?
well, I had interest at a very young age. My dad was a career military man. He was an Army Ranger, and part of his training, he trained in Aikido, and he brought that home. I was, probably junior high school, elementary school, maybe, and he was kind of sharing that with my brother and I, my older brother, and I I found it fascinating. He had a book at the house, and I started reading that, and I thought this is really cool. And I just remember reading the front cover where the gentleman, the author, was like a first degree black belt in this, and a second in this, and then a fourth in Aikido. And I thought, what is that all about? With black belts and Aikido, and so from there, there wasn't an Aikido practitioner around as we were moving on and off Army bases and stuff. And then we finally moved to where I live now in the city of Fenton, and there was a judo club. And I joined the judo club in was junior high school, and I was getting into it. I was kind of learning the fundamentals, and unfortunately, there was two young individuals, instructors teaching it, and something happened. And I remember our class. We handed over our money for our dole box, and we never saw them again. And I'm like, well, what kind of nonsense is this? So it's like, well, I kind of gave up on that for a while. Life happened. Got out of high when I was 16, so I was like, it was really on the back burner, but I grew up like everybody else in the 60s and 70s, watching Kung Fu and The Master and seeing all the, Bruce Lee movies and that. And, saying that still interests me. And then when I got in my early 20s, I thought, well, I need to do something to get in shape. And so I was living in Clio, which is about 45 minutes north of where I am now. And there was a little sign out by the side of the road. It just said karate. So I went and checked it out, and it turned out to be a very qualified instructor. He was teaching Taekwondo, Tang Sudo, and he was instructing in judo, but he wasn't giving any rank in judo. And I thought, well, this is really fascinating. And my whole goal, I'm going to get an orange belt. As a matter of fact, I like, the first or second class, he asked everybody, why are you here? And being 20, young 20 something, I said, well, I want to learn this, I can pretty much take care of myself. And he was like, oh, really? And I said, yeah, figure if I can get an orange belt, I kind of get the fundamentals, I'll be good. And, he didn't pay much mind to that. And then he proceeded to tell the class, well, out of the 20 that are here tonight, in 6 weeks, half of you'll be gone. And in 6 months, or maybe one or two left. And that's okay. And I'm like, you guys kind of hardcore. So that was kind of my start. And of course, by the time I reached orange belt, I had been bit by the karate bug. And, I just realized how much there was to learn. And then trying to absorb all of that information and training in Taekwondo and Tang Sudo, there were so many forms to learn. We were part of the UTB, which was a Universal Taekwondo Brotherhood here in Michigan under Master Mansky. So between that and the Tang Sudo, when we were in the Federation under Grandmaster Fongyi, we're learning all these forms. And I'm like, I am not a forms guy. I'm like getting a headache. And every time I test it, okay, what test is this? The Taekwondo, Tang Sudo. So it worked all the way up. And on top of that, we were throwing in judo lessons and classes and tournaments. But I managed to get all the way up to first degree black belt and tested for my first degree black belt in Tang Sudo and then in Taekwondo. And at that point, my instructor at the time said, hey, I think we've really spread too thin. We need to pick one or the other. We need to go to, immerse ourselves in the Taekwondo family community or Tang Sudo. And, I was kind of ambivalent. I'm like, I enjoy them both. And, being a young guy, Taekwondo is you showed up, let's do some forms, warm up, let's spar. Let's fight. Tang Sudo was, man, you do forms all the time. We had detail, technique. And then you get to spar a little bit. But I realized after, being in it for a few years or a couple of years, I wasn't going to hold up to the physical rigors of fighting all the time and competing at that level. So we kind of came to the consensus, let's do Tang Sudo. That's kind of a whole life martial arts. You could see people that could do it for a lifetime. And I thought, well, that appeals to me. And, and again, my greatest ambition was to get that first degree black belt. And then once, like everybody else, once I had it, it was like, man, I don't know too much because I'm, meeting master instructors and, the knowledge just comes out of them. And you go, oh man, I've got so much to learn. And I just kept going and, so that's how I got my start, kind of long-winded there, but
No.
that was it. And I find it fascinating when I talk to my peers in the World Tang Sudo Association, how many of us started out in Taekwondo or, another style of martial arts, gravitated to the Tang Sudo and just found it a home, because of the whole way of life philosophy that, the Grandmaster Fongyi had put in place and then, and really brought to life under Grandmaster Shen. I remember when we first came to the World Tang Sudo Association, Grandmaster Shen came to Livonia, Michigan, and he brought a young black belt with him. And this guy was my age, and he was phenomenal. He was doing stuff that I'm like, yeah, I got to hang around this guy because he's got some good information. And we trained, and I got to meet John Godwin, Master John Godwin. And I just hit it off. I'm like, this guy and I are, you know, on the same wavelength when it comes to a lot of stuff. And so we joined the World Tang Soo Do Association, and I wound up competing at the 1986 World Championships, the very first one. And I was awestruck. I'd never been in an event, a martial arts event, with that many people in that size of the venue. We learned a lot from that. We're much more efficient because it ran late into the night, and I still share this story with Master Purnell. He was in my division, and I think I was just newly promoted to second dan, and I get in the ring with Master Purnell, and he just personified a altogether martial art technician. And I remember sparring him, and it was over so fast. It was 3-0 before I knew what happened. I was like looking around, like, did we start? This guy was so quick, so fast, so efficient. And I'm like, I gotta up my game a lot. And so that inspired me to keep training. And after that experience, I did make it back to the 88 and did a little bit better. Did a little bit. Didn't win, but I did a little bit better. I did get a couple of points on him, and I'm not sure if he just was messing with me or not, but I felt a little bit better. And then my instructor at the time seemed to have a problem with the association, so he dragged us all away, and we were gone for a little bit, but we, he did some stuff, and then he was going to take a break, so we just came right back to the association, and Grandmaster was very gracious. And Master Ochs, who I've known since he is, I think, 12 years old, it was training, and he had actually just been promoted in the association we had left with, and as a master, and I had been working off shift for the last 2 or 3 years, so I was not progressing. I was still training with Master Rutherford, but it was kind of difficult because we were both off shift people, and if you've ever worked off shift, you're tired all the time. So we made time to train, but we came back, and Master Ochs and myself and some of the other senior instructors met with Grandmaster Shin, and he's like, I have no problem with it, but Master Ochs, you come back as third dan, and he did, and he brought everybody else in with him, and that was kind of our homecoming again, if you will, and it felt like, yeah, this is where we belong. And then been in the association ever since. So that was the start of the early days.
So when you came over, you and Master Ochs, you were together in the same
Yeah, yeah,
dojo?
yeah. At the time, I think uh, we were North American Tang Soo Do, and then Master Ochs formed Grand Tradition Martial Arts, and so we were all under that umbrella. I was just got back to first shift life, and I started a small club in Linden, Michigan, and started growing that, and it became a studio size through the community ed, and I did that for 22 years. As my kids went through that school district, it worked out great, and both of my children trained with me. My daughter got the karate bug, as you know, she's now fourth degree black belt. My son got to the teen years and decided he's not going to do it. And we went round and round, but finally I said, I can't make you drink the water. And I told him more than once. I said, when I was a kid, if my dad would have said, hey, we're going to open a karate school and you're going to get to train for free, I would have been in heaven, but it wasn't his thing. And I wound up talking to Grandmaster Shin about it, thinking I was missing the secret sauce. And he says, no, it's not their thing. They're the thing. Both my children train. They don't train anymore. It's not their thing. That's what we do, not necessarily what they do. And I'm like, okay.
I know, it's so hard.
Yeah. So
You mentioned training in Taekwondo. Are there any forms, the Taekwondo forms that you retained from back then?
One,
Right.
South Cherokee, which is four directional punch. I could still do it. And it's just a simple pattern of block right, punch right, and you go in a circle, then you reverse, go back the other way. That was the first one. It stuck with me. Now, a lot of the forms, like the Pyongan forms and some of the Taekwondo forms were pretty similar. Like, oh, wait a minute, which when you're trying to certify rank in different styles and you get similarity in forms and patterns, it's real easy to go from Taekwondo to Tang Sudo or Tang Sudo to Taekwondo. And the testing panel's looking at, okay, what are you doing? Oh, no. Okay. So, but that's really the only one I remember. It's been over 40 years
Wow.
since I did that. I still have my oh, here's one of them. Yeah, you see this one?
Oh yeah.
That's it. I was like, yeah, I still have it. There's still a lot of great history and reference material in that. As far as the martial arts and the Korean development of the martial arts, I think all of us that stay in it for a while, we eventually search out our history and lineage and how did this all fit together, and you know, how do these martial arts come about to be different but yet similar. So,
You mentioned the one club that you were there for 22 years. When did you move into the your current location?
well, I did that over 10 years ago now. Uh, and and as I was regional director for quite a while, and I was always telling students and black belts, open a school, get a club, and then as we did it more, and Master Ochs was very, much about having a professional storefront. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it sooner than later. Both my children were out of college, and I said, I'm going to open up my own storefront. I formed Anderson's Karate in 2013, and we got a small storefront, which was a couple of miles from my present location. And, we outgrew it quickly. It was just what they call a box, 1,400 square feet.
Wow.
And at the time, I thought, man, this is huge. Well, when you start putting bodies in there and moving around, you go, it's a little tight. Well, the landlord at the time didn't have anybody in the location on either side of me. Well, they added a real estate office, and and then they added um, uh, some kind of retail shop. Well, we're pretty noisy, and so the real estate people are like, we have people yelling and screaming on the other side of the wall, and we're trying to do business. And my wife is also, at the time, owned a jazzercise business. So we were sharing mat time, in the morning. Obviously my students are at school. So, oh yeah, use the studio. Well, they crank up the music. So long story short, the landlord and I it said, yeah, we need to part ways, even though I had signed a lease that said right in there I was going to be noisy. Well, at the time they thought, well, there's nobody around, who
Right.
cares? Well, once they got a big fish around that were paying a lot more money than I was, they asked me to leave. And to my good fortune, I found my present location, which used to be a tanning salon and had gone out of business and had been sitting vacant for quite a while. And it needed some plumbing repair in that. And I struck up a deal with the landlord, and we got, some build out, money and some time. And so we've been here now, like I said, just over 10 years. As a matter of fact, I meet with the landlord later today to talk about what we're doing in the future. Hopefully, we'll be staying here for a little while longer.
Nice.
So
What size studio is it now?
it's a double sized suite. So I've got about total, it's about 2,500 square
Nice.
feet, of
Nice.
which probably uh, 1,800 approximately is mat space. So it's a good size mat. I can put 20 students in here comfortably. I can do 25. It's pretty snug.
Yeah.
But most of my class sizes average between 15 and 20 students. And so you break that up. Summer classes, because in Michigan, I don't know how it works where you're at. In Michigan, most of your students' parents have places up north or summer activities, water, skiing,
Yeah.
lake, whatever. And so the number kind of shrinks. So I kind of consolidate classes. So right now we have Little Dragons on Monday, Wednesdays from 5 to 5:30, beginner intermediate from 5:45 to 6:30, and then our it, intermediate advanced class meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays nights at 7 o'clock. So that's our summer look. And then as the fall rolls around and the kids get back in school and our numbers come back up, we can add classes kind of back in the gaps there.
Yeah, we definitely experience the same thing. A lot of people do a lot of traveling in the summer, so we're in the same boat as you. You mentioned when you switched and you came to Tong Sudo, you like the concept of being able to be more well-rounded and something that you could do going longer into life, right? Something you can
Absolutely.
maintain and not fight every time. Were you teaching in Taekwondo? And if you were, where was there a shift in your mindset as far as teaching goes and as to what you focused on?
Well, yeah, because when I was, a young black belt and teaching, I taught Taekwondo and Tang Soo under that umbrella. Uh, and it was pretty much the mindset. Everybody wanted to be battle hardened, ready warriors. And I couldn't keep students, but my instructor at the time couldn't keep students. And I thought that was normal, but here, as we were shifting to Tang Soo and it's, and being, and meeting Grandmaster Shin and his philosophy, and then, children and women are going to be involved in this. At the time, the only woman I really knew, excuse me, thought I turned that off, really knew in the martial arts was Master Hampton, uh, one of the first female masters in our association. Other than that, it was just a bunch of young guys, older guys that, you know, and a few kids. Master Ochs was one of the group of, kids that came through the community ed. And that as I did that, I got obviously more kids. But so the big shift, I think, came with Master Rutherford telling me, you're running off the people that need this the most.
Hmm.
The meek and the weak, the people that are intimidated and bullied. You're so hard on people that they're not staying and you're running them off. And that's not what we need to do as Tang Soo Do practitioners. We need to be all encompassing and help those people find their path and develop their skill set so they grow and mature and become confident, and can thrive in society. And that was a big eye-opening mental moment for me. I'm like, oh, okay, that absolutely makes sense. Because as I had children, I began to understand they're not going to be performing at this level of a 20 something male, you know, and then females. And then people now at my age were the old people. I'm like, what are they going to do? Well, now I understand. There's something here in Tang Soo Do for all of us. And I think that was the major shift. And once I embraced that philosophy, things just got a lot better, you know. And then you understand that you're providing a service, but you're also adding to society, making it a better place for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Which, Grandmaster Shin.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, you mentioned Master Godwin earlier, who's my instructor, and he kind of embraced that same thing. You you can cater to both, right? Not everyone's gonna love to fight, but if they do
Mm-hmm.
like to fight, we have that too,
Yeah,
right? And that's
we yeah, absolutely. Well, we have at our school, we have the two fight. The one is tournament sparring. This is what we do when we fight in tournament. This are the rules: close quarters, don't contact. Now we have this is fighting at Anderson's Karate when we're have contact. It's not full on, knock each other out,
right.
but we allow some contact. And I tell my karate parents, I said, the first time your child ever gets hit, I don't want it to be on the street and be a total surprise. I want them to understand that you can have physical contact and learn to protect yourself and learn to battle through that. So we kind of do that. Like I said, it's not the old days where we had the gauzy hand wrap and foot pads and just brutalized each other. I'm like, I don't know what we were thinking back then, but it's like you come off the mat, you got bruised up ribs. Oh, look, that looks great. You're like, well, you were young guys.
Yeah. You embrace the fight smarter, not harder. Uh,
Oh,
as you get older, and also as you go up in rank, you realize like, hey, I don't have to get hit like that all the time.
no, blocking is a virtue.
Yes.
Learn to block, learn to avoid, you know, and so, yeah, that's just the development of it. I remember my wife came and trained with me, and she made it all the way to orange belt. But then when she got in her first actual sparring and scenario, she got hit in the face, got a bloody nose and a split lip, and that was it. She's like, I'm done. You guys are crazy. So I give her credit. I had to reel myself in a little bit. And I'm like, the student she was sparring with was a young guy. And I'm like, what are you doing? We're supposed to be using some control. And, he's an orange belt. You know what control looks like. And then, of course, I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, well, blocking is not a bad idea. Well, that didn't sail either. So, but I give her credit. I mean, you've been in the business long enough. There's just a lot of people who are going to try it. And it's just not going to be their cup of tea. There may be a martial art out there for them. Maybe we're not the one. I've had people that have gone on to, they've decided that Tai Chi was a better fit for them, or some of the I've had some young men in particular come in and they really want to be more grounded pound. So they find that jujitsu suits what they're looking for at this time. And I thought, that's great. Go
Yeah,
pursue your passion. And when you get to that stage in life where you want to be able to continue to train and grow, come see me. Bring what you know. We'll share what you know. It's all about enrichment at that point. So,
absolutely. I've also come to find out that some of the most dangerous people in the martial arts, especially in sparring, are those orange belts, green belts. They know enough, just enough to be deadly, but haven't quite
oh,
mastered the control yet.
no.
You always see the people who's like, "Oh, I'm a spar black belt." I'm like, "That's your best bet right there. They're gonna keep you safe."
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, for years, when I was teaching Little Dragons, I would tell my instructors as they took over, I said, always wear your cup when you teach Little Dragons. They're like, what? They're little dragons. I said, their head will headbutt you in the most inappropriate place at the when you least expect it. They are wild little balls of energy, and they will collide with you, at any given moment. And I'm like, just take my word for it. And
That's right.
most of my young male instructors have taken my advice on that.
Better to be prepared, right?
Right, right. If they, yeah, you can hear their head go, don't off your cup. It's like, oh, I'm so glad I got that on. Because usually you're doing the trying to fix this one over here, and the other one decides to come give you a bear hug or something. Like, oh no.
You mentioned that you were the regional director for years, and for those who don't know, Region 5, just give us a heads up. What states does that encompass?
Well, Region 5 is Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. It used to be the whole state of Ohio when I first took over, and we all went all the way down to Columbus, and we had studios there. Um, and then when they formed Region 22, they took the southern half of Ohio, so they split it in half. So we still have Ohio. Unfortunately, we haven't got an anchor school back in Ohio yet, but that's our region.
Gotcha. If you're not familiar with Region 5, if you're on Facebook, you see that they train hard, and then they always seem to have a fun. They always seem to have fun afterwards. You see the pictures from the U.S. Nationals. You had the sumo thing, and then the party afterwards. Maybe talk about the camaraderie in your region. Obviously, we have it association wide as well, but what makes that kind of bond and camaraderie happen in Region 5 that I feel like is it's a little different than most. I don't know if you agree.
Well, I do, in the fact that I think it's Midwest. We're kind of out here in the Midwest, and it's just a kind of a different scenario. And um, I think because of the distance between us, when we do get together, we want to have, we want to make sure that we get, an opportunity to train hard, learn from each other, but then also enjoy the social aspects of getting to know each other, develop those friendships, and really that sense of community and family. And, we're uh, Master Mary Tracy is, she embodies the hugging of the Midwest. She's the hugging master, and I've embraced that now after all these many years. So, uh, you know, so uh, uh, even before I was regional director, Master Jan- Tracy would say, I remember the first time I met Grandmaster, and I hug everybody. So I just walked over, oh, hi, sir. And I hugged him. And he was like, whoa, who is this person? And that was kind of her introduction to the World Tuxedo Association. And but it worked. It worked. And I think we we generally care for each other, and we're looking for all of the schools and clubs to do well. And so we've been blessed with having some great leadership here over the years. Master Dan Jansa has a wealth of knowledge in Tang Soo and also is very skilled in Hapkido, which he shares with us. And Master Matt Ochs is very astute, not only with the Tang Soo but very much into the business aspects of running a business. And he set a great foundation for running our association, Region 5, the business portion. So when I had the opportunity to become regional director, a lot of those great tools were in place for us to help us, communicate and grow. And then, you know, I was talking to him, way back, and I was, doing after one of our black belt tests, and I was, like hours getting the paperwork together and getting it, ready to send to headquarters and that. And I was talking to him about it. He says, well, you realize when I was regional director, our black belt test was 12 to 15 people. You're now doing close to 50. Yeah, there's a big jump here. And that was a growth that we were experiencing. And it really kind of happened almost organically as we kept, I was a big proponent of, go out, spread your wings, get your own club going, get your own studio, especially young black belts as they would move with careers in that. And we had college connections. I say, if you get somewhere and there's no association school, be the association school. Open it up, start a club, through your church, through the YMCA, for, whatever venue you can find where you can get in and start teaching, and your teaching will help you develop your training, and it's just a win-win. So, and we've had really phenomenal growth here in Region 5. So, and I credit, the people that I've been blessed to be surrounded by, you know. And now we have Master Wheeler, who's taken over and is taking us to a whole new level. We hosted the U.S. Nationals, and it looks like we're going to host the World's Championship. So, there's just a lot of excitement here in our region, and we've developed over the years to do a joint tournament with Region 3. We do that every couple of years. We meet in the Wisconsin Dells. We're doing that again this year. So we've pulled them into our web, if you will, as part of our family, and we love training with the people out of Region 3 and developing that association bond, if you will.
It's great. I didn't get a chance to come to the Nationals last year, so I'm looking forward to coming back. I got to visit the Chicago area last year after but I'm looking forward to coming back for Worlds in 26. It's exciting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. And the venue is what I really like about where we're going to be is there's no bus transportation or anything to get to and from. If you're in the championship hotel, it's literally just ground floor walk over to the venue and compete.
That's great.
Everything's going to be right there. So for those that didn't make the U.S. Nationals, you'll be able to see it and experience. And it's close enough to downtown Chicago. They have mass transit, or if you have your own transportation, get downtown Chicago, Navy Pier, the museums down there are phenomenal. Um, I was lucky enough to be at the U.S. Nationals as part of the security and working with Assistant Grandmaster Stein and kind of, you know, being his escort, if you will, showing him around. And we went downtown Chicago, went to Navy Pier. I driven over my sports car. I have a Corvette convertible, so we were cruising around that and just had a great time. And that's one of the great things about our association is the senior masters, assistant grandmasters. They're just open books. They'll just share their knowledge, and they're all just great, down to earth people. And I just enjoy being around them. Blessed to have that opportunity. So yeah, come to the Worlds.
Yeah.
Come here to Region 5. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
That's my sales pitch.
There you go. It's going to be a good time. I don't think that it shouldn't be a hard sales pitch, Go to Chicago, just do it. Um, you mentioned Master Ochs as far as teaching you the business side. We just saw him. I know he's known for breaking things. Has that rubbed off on you?
I started out. I was actually, I think, a first degree black belt when I first met him. He was just a young kid coming to karate, and he showed a lot of promise. And you go, well, we'll see where he goes. And then he just developed, and he took a real interest in it, and it just was like a sponge. You couldn't feed him enough information, and he just absorbed it. But he was a big kid, and he grew into a formidable man, and he could just break stuff. And I tried. I mean, I think he did 11 slabs at this last World Championship. Most I ever broke through were 6. And then I worked, before I retired, I was an automotive technician for years. So I really relied on my hands for my livelihood. So breaking my hands, which I did, was not a good formula for success for me on the other side of my life. So I can break, I just can't break at that level. And but I did have the opportunity when we would do demos, and he would lay on a bed of nails, and then we'd stack up some concrete on top of them. And I was the guy that got to swing the sledgehammer, you know. And if I did it right, it was a one hit, boom, it all blew up. But if I missed and didn't quite get it, I had to hit it again. And that's where he said the problem was. The first hit, he was all set. The second one, you get these little dimples in the back.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, sorry. But we did a lot of that. I did learn how to lay on the bed of nails and have the bricks on me and that. And, so, and we were doing a demo at one of the championships here in Chicago area, and our demo team was all set, and Master Ochs was on the demo team. Well, just before that weekend, he was invited to Master's Clinic, and he accepted. Well, we get to the demo, and then Grandmaster or Master J says, well, you can't be on the demo team if you have accepted an invitation to Master's Clinic. And Master Ochs goes, oh. And so he and I run back to the hotel room. He breaks in this bag of broken glass in a towel and says, I'm going to teach you how to stand on broken glass, and you're going to do a side kick through this board. And literally, within an hour, I was standing on broken glass, being able to throw a decent side kick. And I went in the demo, stepped down on that glass, crunched it around, spun, broke the board. And then the words he said just as we left the hotel room, he says, "Now you always pick your foot up, wipe the glass off because those little shards will get on the side, and then you're going to show everybody the bottom of your foot and you're not bleeding. Unless it's a gusher, and then you just wrap your foot up in the towel and just slide it off to the side." I'm like, "What? Wait, gusher?" But I didn't. I didn't have any blood pouring out, so it all worked out. But that's kind of was my introduction to you can do this. It's just a mindset. You just got to believe you can do it. So, and
Yeah,
we've had a lot of great adventures, he and I, through martial arts and through, we've developed a great friendship. We like to hunt and fish. We're avid sportsmen. We like to get out in the woods. So we do that as well. And of course, I watched him grow up. And then he got to see my children growing up. And then I got to, meet his daughter and watch her grow up. I'm like, wow, it's been a really cool ride. It's really been special.
that's awesome. I love that, and I have that same bond with a lot of my the masters in our region, and we're in that phase right now where we all have teens and they're all growing up together, and it's a pretty cool special thing.
It really is. And when I talk to people, lay people about what I do in the martial arts, and I talk about our association, and I use the word family, and people are like, well, yeah, I was like, no, we really develop a great bond. It really becomes a family. And it's just like this, at Master Brace's memorial service, it was a real sense of community and family. And then at the past World Championship, I spent a lot of time walking around talking to old friends, meeting new ones, and just I thought I turned you off. And just getting to be spend some quality time with them and getting hugs.
Yeah,
It just felt good to get those hugs.
absolutely. You mentioned Master Tracy, and she really does give the best hugs.
Go ahead.
Uh,
She does that.
yeah. You mentioned you used to be an automotive technician. At what point did you make that transition? I assume now you're a full-time martial arts guy?
Yeah, I managed to land a career at General Motors here in Michigan at their development facility. And I got 30 years in there. And then when I retired from them, I'd actually already opened my professional school. And I said, well, I'm just, and it's like, oh, I'm going to retire. What am I going to do? And I'm like, well, I can't see the forest through the trees. I'm already doing what I want to do. So I've just been focusing my energy on, you know, growing my program, although it be painstakingly slow with
Yeah.
COVID. That was a real kick in the pants. But we were blessed and fortunate enough to survive the COVID shutdown. And my landlord was super about it. I know a lot of the studios, their landlords like, hey, just pay the rent or get out. And he was like, okay, let's work out what you can do. And then as we figured out Zoom and you know that to keep the classes going and training outside, I started paying them a little bit of rent, on the facility. So we managed to keep it. So
Yeah.
here we are.
Zoom was not ideal, but it was the lifeline
It really was. Really
for
was.
at least for us, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, yeah. And then we have, county parks not too far from us. So we were meeting out there. Yeah. As soon as the weather broke here in Michigan and it was getting, warm enough and not, no chance of snow, we were outside training and we trained that a whole summer and we went through the mosquitoes, the flying ants, all kinds of other iterations. It was like the lawnmower guy showing up in the middle of training.
Of course.
But like I told him, this is your memories. These are the stories you're going to tell your students, how hard you had to train, how hard you had to work for your black belt, the things you went through during this pandemic. So
Yeah, it makes you appreciate once you're back in four walls. You don't have
mhm.
to worry about the lawnmower. Do you have, I mean, obviously we teach everything, but if you had a specialty, is there things that you go to a Region 5 black belt clinic, do you have a specialty or do you have a thing that you typically teach or enjoy teaching more than others?
Well, I do what I call flashlight self-defense. And what that is really a short stick, dongbong,
Yeah.
which Master Rutherford taught years ago. And I was his uki for several of those classes. And being a technician, I always had this black mag light on my hip. And I thought, well, this really is the same idea. It's a little piece of metal tube. And I developed how do you use this in a self-defense scenario? How can you use this to, escape, evade, help, or damage somebody to the point where you can get away from them? So I teach that whenever I get the opportunity. I've actually taught at Master's Clinic, and and as soon as you start going, of course, masters will say, well, what about this? And I always embrace, yeah, what about that? That's a great idea. Let's add that in. This work. I don't know if you remember Master Day. Dennis and I kind of came up the ranks together. We were candidates together. And he was at my training seminar, and he was just being obstinate. He was just giving me a really hard time, well, yeah, well, this and this. And I'm like, so finally I took the flashlight and I put it in my left hand and I stuck it right on his forehead and I hit it. And then I put a little round half crescent moon on his forehead. And then it popped right out. And so the rest of the weekend, he walked around with this little crescent moon flashlight. And so then after that, he was nicer to me, but he's like, why did you do that? I said, because you kept getting in my way.
That's right. That's
We're good friends.
that was the not so gentle reminder to don't be that student that I was like,
You don't be that guy that goes to the seminar and starts telling the guy, well, yeah, I could do that better, or that's not going
right.
to work. And I remember one of the early lessons with with Master Jansa, and he was showing us about keto, and I wasn't getting it. I'm like, I don't understand, and I'd been researching a little bit, and it's a way of gentleness, and I'm like, so he started demonstrating on me, which, hey, and then I'm like, ow, this hurts. He goes, well, yeah, it's a way of gentleness for me, not for you. It's all about technique. So don't be that guy unless you want to experience some pain.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to train. Master Godwin obviously is the Hapkido Grandmaster, and we got to train with his instructor, Grandmaster Jihan J. I don't know if you ever got to train with him.
I did not. And it's one of those opportunities. I'm like, I need to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll get to, but
yeah, it's the same thing. It's like uh if you caused him, he was kind of a small guy, but if you pushed him, he would let you know, or he would get someone else to let you know to,
Oh yeah, yeah. Masters and grandmasters have their ways of getting their point across in no uncertain terms. I know assistant grandmasters I've trained with, when they decide to show their application, it hurts.
right.
Master Vaughn one time was showing me how to lock up somebody, and I'm like, ow, this will work in a heartbeat. And of course, he's one of my favorite too, Assistant Grandmaster Vaughn. So I few occasions as a master plan, I raised my hand because I really wanted to get the inside of that. And then, 2 days with an ice pack on your shoulder, you go, it was worth it.
Well, one of my I mentioned Dojin Jihan J. One of my favorite lines, I remember he had me locked up, and then he just turned his hand a little bit, and you get that extra like, oh, and he just said, only he knows, right? Like only I knew the pain from that just one little tweak or that one little change that he did. You can't quite see it, but I felt it.
Yeah. Oh, it's all good stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
I get, some people don't realize what masochist martial artists are.
Well, my daytime job, as I called it, I would come in and they go, "You pay people to do this?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of do, but I'm learning a lot."
right.
So, and they're like, "I don't need to pay money to know I don't want to get hurt." I'm like, "Yeah, but So it's kind of one of those things. If you're not in it, it's kind of hard to explain it to you.
It is. You're like, yeah, that's it. Do it again.
I didn't quite get that. Show me that again.
Yeah.
It's sort of like what it was training with Master Wick, and he was so fast that I would be like, okay, again, ow, it hurts. Okay, again, ow, it hurts. What exactly are you doing? I'm feeling it, but I'm not getting it. And then finally you get it and go, oh, well, that's so simple. Why didn't I get that?
As we start to wrap up, believe it or not, we're getting close to an hour. Again, I want to thank you for joining me. Is
Well,
there
thank you for
anything that
having me.
we haven't touched base on that you wanted to talk about?
Uh, no, we did cover a lot of territory. Um, I guess after this past weekend and the events, it's just like I just share with everybody that we are truly a professional martial art organization with a lot of talent, and just reach out to each other and you know, share your knowledge and learn as well. Empty that cup, if you will. Um, I've had the opportunity to travel down to Costa Rica and train down there and share with them, and you know, there's other places I'd like to visit as well. But I think Grandmaster Shin was a visionary, and he developed something that's very special in the martial arts community. I've been in other martial arts organizations early on, and the level of camaraderie and cooperation just wasn't there. It was a lot of ego,
Mm.
you know, and I guess as Grandmaster Shin would say, ego's a killer of black belts, so kind of keep that in check.
Well, you
So,
mentioned some of the assistant grandmasters, and of course, we have the leadership of Grandmaster Strong as well. It's always great to see him. Uh, so, like you
yeah,
said,
Grandmaster Strong. I remember he came to Region 5, and I was hosting the event, and so I'm running around, and that was back when you hosted an event, you had to do everything.
mm,
When you recruited whoever you could, but the day was wearing on, and we hadn't had any lunch, so I go to Grandmaster Strong, and he was a master instructor at the time. I said, "Sir, you would like to get something to eat? I mean, there's a McDonald's right around the corner. We can grab something quick or whatever you want." He said, "Oh, that'd be fine." So I go over and over to McDonald's. I maybe sent somebody over, and they brought us back a couple of cheeseburgers and fries and beverages, and so we sit in this little um, teacher's lounge, if you will, and we're dining in there, and he's just talking, and it's just so warm. It was just such a you know well, Chris, and I was asking him things, you always do when you get senior master in front of you. You got to have a grandmaster. You got to ask questions. So I'm asking him questions, and he was sharing his experience of coming up through his martial arts and his first instructors and that experience. And he said, sometimes you learn what you don't want to be in a black belt or as an instructor from your instructors
mm,
early on. And I thought that makes perfect sense because some of my first instructors, their attitudes and demeanor weren't something I wanted to embrace, but I didn't really understand how to separate from that. Take the good that I learned and share that, and then leave some of those other attributes that I didn't want to mimic behind. So, and I've always enjoyed Grandmaster Strong's company and conversations, you know, and his technique is beyond reproach. He did at that weekend. He did Osipsabo, first time I ever saw it, and it was so fast and
yeah.
so smooth. And I went, "Oh my God, that I was blown away. I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to do that." And I'm still working on Osipsabo
Yeah.
now.
You had both. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. One of the things that I've I've taken from this conversation is to don't put things off, right? If
Right.
you keep saying, "Oh, I want to go visit this person, I want to train with this person," just do it. You mentioned the Tuesday trainings. It's funny. That's we always did Tuesday trainings with Master Godwin, and between COVID and life, we've gotten out of those habits, and it's definitely something on my to-do list to get back to doing to stay
Mhm.
motivated by my friends and the people that I look up to. So thank you for that reminder.
Yeah. Yeah. I was you not so long ago, and you and I were the new black belts not so long
Yep.
ago. So it does truly fly, but uh, all the knowledge that you have that you share with your students is great value, and all the knowledge that the senior masters and grandmasters have is great knowledge to try and get, and like I said, what I love about our association is so open. They will share the information with you. It's up to you to take it and do something with it.
There you go.
Retain it if you can, use it, implement it, and share it.
There you go. I think that's a great place to stop. Again, sir, thank you. I promise I will get this one out quickly.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to edit out some of that, that's fine with me, like my stupid phone. I'm like, I don't
Oh,
know
it's
why
quite
I'm
all
so
right.
technically challenged. I'm
That's
like, I can't
okay.
even turn my stupid phone off.
No worries. Well, thank you, sir, and Tung Su, and hope to see you soon.
All right, Tong Su.